As I say, for some people, my previous speeches it might look like they were pro-Russian kind of speeches. No, they are not. They were about the Olympics and talking about the international situation, which is very tense. Most probably one of the most tense situations that I see in my life, except the war in Yugoslavia, which was a human tragedy for me, at the scale that I even didn't want to read about it, to watch the news, and to try to understand what is going on there. For me, there was no good reasons for anything that happened to Yugoslavia. I understand the fragmenting of the former country with different religions, different. I understand that, but for all of those massacres and there is no good reason, no rationale for that, no logic of that. Now we have another crisis, 120,000 troops at the border with Ukraine, 30,000 give or take troops, Russian troops in Belarus, Russian ships in the Black Sea threatening that they are actually they are not threatening, they are claiming they are doing exercises. Obviously, very threatening kind of exercises at the border with Ukraine. Kiev, the capital of Ukraine, is not very far from there, surrounded by 3, 4 very difficult situation indeed, very tense, and a sobering warning from the highest level of the planet in the West, from the White House, and that there are possibilities that next week, in a few days, Russia might invade, which is shocking to me to think about that, to think that intelligent, rational people cannot sit on the same table from the East and from the West, highly intelligent, highly rational, strategical, well read, well traveled world leaders cannot sit on the table and find peaceful resolution of their grievances, which from the East to the West there are legit. Everybody has grievances. I have my number of things that I would like to be solved and resolved. Yet, I looked into, I talked about that. Russia and United States of America, they are both members of the United Nations Security Council. I have a video there. It's not the best technical quality. I'm not an I don't stay that much on a social platform. I'm not really an internet kind of guy. Yet I have a few ideas that I felt compelled to express, and they are meaningful. I'm not trying to be original. Maybe I am sometimes, but it is important to have meaning, to make sense, the way you say it in English. The mission of the Security Council. I looked, I googled it. The Security Council have primary responsibility under the United Nations Charter to maintain the international peace and security. What part of English is not clear? For me, English being my second language, it's straightforward and very clear. The Security Council has primary responsibility under the United Nations Charter to maintain the international peace and stability. Russia is member of this Security Council, so the primary responsibility on the international stage on the face of this planet for Russia is, under the United Nations Charter, is to maintain the international peace and security. Not to disrupt, not to invade. The primary responsibility of the United States, member of the Security Council, under the United Nations Charter, is to maintain the international peace and security. For both of them. It is simple like that. The 15 members of the United Nations Security Council seek to solve the threats to international security, to solve them, to find ways to address the threats and solve them. Its 5 permanent members: United States of America, China, Russia, United Kingdom, and France, chosen in the wake of the World War II, have veto powers. The Big Five. The Security Council fosters negotiation, impose sanctions, and authorize the use of force and the deployment of the peacekeeping missions. So they foster negotiation. In my previous video, I thought that will be recorded the YouTube video I was watching live at that moment, the session of the United Nations Security Council, the session about Ukraine. Everybody was going there at the table. They have a speech that their speechwriter or themselves, they write it there. They read there, blah, 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 blah. Let there be peace. Russia this, United States did this, we believe that. And then what? That kind of speech I can go tomorrow, literally tomorrow, with no preparation, with no, or a minimum, one day of, and keep that kind of speech. There was nothing new there, nothing. For me, it was a shock. My previous video about my reactions are right there. You can play, I'm sure, technically smarter people than me with a laptop. They can play half of the screen, the session I was watching, and to see in parallel my reactions. And you'll see that they were pretty logical. So the Security Council foster negotiation. There are a lot of negotiation. Yesterday, President Biden talked with President Putin for an hour and more than an hour. And to my profound dismay, nothing changed. President of France, President Macron, talked with President Putin. Hours and hours. He went there. He did. That's what you do. You go there, you talk, that's very good. But nothing changed. I mean, there is no angle, there is no opening, there is no little step. I make a step toward you, you make a step toward me. You understand my position, I understand your position. your situation. I see, I agree, I understand. That's how we talk when we sell used cars with our customers. Yes, Mr. Customer, absolutely. I'm sure your point of view is valid. I see your point of view. I understand your point of view. Mr. Customer, however, let me explain. I don't know, it was a price objection. Why this car is priced this way, or why I cannot deliver it tomorrow. You cannot do better than a used car salesman, because obviously, apparently, there is no change. There are some negotiation, imposed sanction, and this is very interesting. The four mission, there are four main missions of the UN Security Council. Number one is black on white here, prevent conflicts. This is exactly what I'm talking about. This is exactly what we need now. Prevent conflicts. Second one, build the rule and law of law and security institutions. Okay. Promote human rights. Excellent. I would love to have some human rights here in Romania. And the fourth is the one that I like best. Empower women. It's very important. Number one, prevent conflicts. There are moments when I watch TV and I don't understand how this world functions. I will repeat somehow what I said in my previous speeches. Is it obvious for me that the member of the Security Council, especially the top 5 of them, they failed their mission. They failed our mission. Their mission, as I said, their job is, I read it here, maintenance of international peace and security. So their job is peace and security. Their job is peace and security. Your job is peace and security. And this is United States of America, China, Russia, United Kingdom, France, and all other 15 of them. Not to fight each other, which is exactly what you are doing. China aligned, Russia aligned with China to fight United States of America, UK, France, NATO, and other. So why are we paying your salaries then? If you don't do the job? Well, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. No, it doesn't work like that. From my life experience that I sold used cars, but I also, this is Leo the Tyler, I installed tiles. If you go there and this is the wall there, right? This is the backsplash or a wall. I have to put tiles. I cannot tell to the client, well, Mr. Client, sometime the tiles will stay there, a number of tiles will stay there, a number will fall down. Maybe I do a good job, maybe I don't do a good job. You install the tiles, they have to stay there. So basically, to keep the analogy, you have to maintain the international peace and security. That's your job. That's why you are there on the face of this planet, on the highest level of international organization. Personally, I do believe that was not the previous speech with the Olympic circles was not a pro-Russian speech. I talked about Russian concerns and Crimea and other situations. Now I strongly believe that if Russia cannot find other ways to address probably legit security concerns that they have, and the other countries cannot find other ways, diplomatic ways, meaningful ways, win-win, win-win-win for Ukraine. Ukraine is not a retarded kid that cannot think sorry for the expression, that cannot think for themselves, cannot express for themselves, cannot fight for themselves, cannot talk on the table with the big guys of the planet, Russia, this. It's a big country, Ukraine, and even if it would be a small country, it's an independent country. So Ukraine should be on the table. Ukraine, you don't write again, as you did in the history, on a piece of napkin, you know, what you do with Ukraine. If Ukraine is going to go to NATO, Ukraine is not going to. And I talked about this because it's obvious. With an open conflict in Donbass, it is obviously that's a false pretext of discussion, Ukraine joining NATO. Up to the moment when the conflict in Donbass is not solved, 8 years of war there, 14,000 people died. That's a war there. That is not a war that is going 100% every day, but it's the Russians have the interest to keep the flame a little bit shimmering there to be able to control the foreign policy of the country. It is simple like that. With that kind of conflict there, Ukraine cannot join NATO. Tomorrow, next week, this year, next year. Why? It's very obvious. Because under NATO treaties, all the other countries, if Ukraine will join NATO, all the other countries should go and fight in Donbass. And Russia, I looked, is a huge nuclear power. United States of America, it's a huge nuclear power. Where is the United Nations mission? To maintain the international peace and security. So that's a false discussion about Ukraine joining NATO tomorrow. In the same time, Russia doesn't have a veto right about other independent countries, even if they have a common border. They have a veto right in the United Nations Security Council, where obviously they don't do their job. And as much as I know, they veto each other whenever they feel. When United States of America wants to do something, Russia and China veto. When Russia and China wants to do something, America is there. So it's dysfunctional. Personally, in simple words, I believe that an invasion of Ukraine, a Russian invasion of Ukraine, will be a historical mistake. In simple words of Leo. Why I would say that? I looked in history. I know that Russia has no problem invading or Georgia or recently Crimea and other. They call Georgia a pet project of the CIA. They call Crimea, said it was our territory, and it was a gift that Khrushchev. Anytime they have a good explanation. I don't know how good, but an explanation for their actions. Anytime you can build a narrative and try to win the propaganda war. Oh, we are not going to invade. It's hysteria. The Americans are crazy. And what you do with that kind of troops there? The number, the sheer force, the structure of the troops, everything looks like a possible invasion. Is it posturing? Is it threatening? Showing your muscles? Absolutely. Absolutely. Undoubtedly. Did you manage to catch the attention of the entire world? Yeah, you did. For what purpose? Theoretically speaking, Russia has security, felt threatened. One thing I know for sure, Romania is part of NATO since 2004, so going NATO, another crazy thing that the Russians asked, it's not crazy, they put it there because they know it's just to waste time. My feeling is they are not negotiating in good faith. To ask NATO to go on the 97 uh, situation, it is obviously slapped there on the table, making fun of everybody, because you know it's absolutely impossible. Use the time, change the conversation. This is not negotiating in good faith. Romania entered NATO in 2004. Romania is very comfortable in NATO, even that I criticized the organization many times for very good reasons, very logical, but Romania is very comfortable in NATO since 2004. If we have the 415 kilometer of a highway and the inauguration that I suggested with the American ambassador built with the biggest American company, 4th of July in Romania, the bridges 173, member of NATO, that would have been the way should have been. That would have been smart. It wasn't like that. That is a subject to be discussed and not to put under the rug. Yet, Romania is very comfortable in NATO. Absolutely. In Romania, support for the Americans used to be skyrocketing to the roof. Pro-American feeling in the polls and for historical reasons. And Romania is comfortable in NATO since 2004. To ask NATO to roll back in 97 is absurd, is ridiculous. This is the words. But it was done on purpose, I understand, from diplomatic, because you know it is impossible. It is absurd. Russia doesn't have any word, nobody empower Russia to tell Ukraine if Ukraine wants to be in NATO or not, if Romania wants to be in NATO or not, if Poland wants to be in NATO or not, if what the Baltic states are doing, or what the latest development is actually interesting, Sweden and Finland are doing. If they want to be in NATO, Sweden and Finland will be in NATO. Even that Russia like it or doesn't like it. You know It is simple like that. Peace and security. Maintain peace and security. International peace and security. International peace and security means peace and security in your area. You are a world power, Russia. In other areas of interest for you, peace and security. And if America is battling in other people path and businesses and families, and that is something that we should talk about. We should discuss. Undeniable. Undeniable. We talk about United States, we talk about Russia, we talk about all five members of the Security Council. All five of them. The top. All 15 of them. Because in my simple view, which is not simplistic, it's simple, if an invasion will occur next week, none of them did their jobs. The main blame will be on the shoulder of Russia, the invader. There is no excuse for an invasion. There is no excuse. Absolutely none. In this interconnected world, in this world when you have means of communication, when you talk on the phone for hours, world leaders, when you visit each other, when your experts can stay in a room for hours and hours and days up to the moment we achieve a win-win-win situation. There is no excuse. Zero, absolute zero, none whatsoever for an invasion. This is not the way international grievances should be solved. It is simple like that. That's all I have to say about it.